I think one of the most wonderful things that you have done and continue to do is you do great introductions of your guest. And once when you were introducing Orson Welles to your TV audience, he quoted the LA Times writer Kenneth Turan, who said, if you were bored and you tried to think of the one person who you would like to see walk through the door, that person would be Orson Welles. You said that. You quoted that. I say that when I'm bored, I would most like to see Dick Cavett walk through the door because I think you'd have so much to say.
Right. Well, and that's okay. And sadly, as things turned out, it'd be easier for me to walk through a door than Orson at the... I'm sorry. I loved Orson, come on. Actually, you know, the critic Stanley Kaufman, I think in the New Republic, wrote a piece saying someday theater historians, show business historians, will have to deal with the question of what Orson Welles and Marlon Brando did to their bodies. And he had interesting parallels, the two of them who would despised their career in various ways and self-destruction and all. I'm glad I brought that up and lightened the atmosphere here.
You know, during my earlier introduction, I said that you have a Midwest sensibility, and I hope you agree. You were born and raised in Nebraska.
This is a fact. Yeah.
Okay. Johnny Carson was raised in Nebraska.
Norfolk.
David Letterman was raised in Indiana.
Yep.
Do you think that having this background enabled you and Johnny and David, and you can speak for them, to better connect with your viewing audience?
I don't know, but I do know that at one point somebody did a study of how many people from the Midwest had succeeded, allegedly, and they partly put it to accent. The so-called lack of accent in the Midwest, which of course is that accent, was more comfortable to people, and that gave us lots of people in the news world, and Harry Reasoner, people from the Midwest, seemed to have an edge over people who spoke in one of maybe the 4 Connecticut accents that Jonathan Winters could do. I'll tell you why I brought that up. Johnny's dad went to Yale, and Johnny didn't, and it used to annoy him. And he said, my dad's stuffy Yale friends would always let you know they went to Yale within the first sentence. And I said, how? And he said, well, the worst ones would go obliquely and say, you know, when I was studying anthropology, when I was in New Haven, and Johnny would say, oh, was that New Haven Polytechnic?
Just to cut him down to size. We just saw the testy exchange between Norman Mailer and Gore Vidal, and you. What do you remember about that interview?
Everything, because I've seen it about 5 or 6 times. It's the damnedest evening I ever did, in so many ways. Thoroughly entertaining. The entire show builds like a drama. It starts civilly. The great Janet Flanner, journalist from the New Yorker for 30, 40 years. Gore told elegant stories, and then Norman came out pissed to the gills, I think, as Eleanor Roosevelt used to put it. And as they say on panel shows, she was a dear friend of mine. Norman was there to gut Gore, and it was going to be tough, and you could see that it was. And somehow that moment got to me the most. I mean, he couldn't have said a thing that would anger me more quickly than, you're a guy who sits out here and reads questions off a sheet, you know. That was David Frost.
What was it like writing for Jack Paar and Johnny Carson?
It was similar, except they were such vastly different personalities. The best thing ever said about Jack, with his collection of exciting personality, neuroses by the dozen, insecurities, homophobia, various things, made for the most electric presence ever on television, anywhere. I mean, that's all right. He has several relatives here. Jack was, the great critic Kenneth Tynan, I think, put it best. He came to this country, discovered Jack, and we had lunch, and he said, the thing about your boss, Jack Paar, is that no matter who's on the screen with him, you can't take your eyes off Jack, for fear that if you do, you might miss a live nervous breakdown on your home screen. That's true. Jack was the strangest man I ever met, but we must bow to him because you would look silly talking to an empty chair here now if it weren't for Jack.
It's been done. It's been done.
Jack got me rolling in the business, yeah.
Public Broadcasting Service edited your special, Dick Cavett's Watergate, 40 years. I forgot how much you focused on that scandal at the time. Picking up the trail of that scandal, was that just blind luck, or did you have a gut feeling that this would turn into such a big deal?
Well, I can't take credit for everything that happened at Watergate, but I had always been kind of obsessed with Nixon throughout my life at that time, as people my age were. The first great event I saw on television was right after the coaxial cable eventually made its way to Nebraska, and just in the nick of time to see the Army McCarthy hearings. And that was fabulous television. Hot Nebraska, no air conditioning, neighbors came in, and you watched it from morn to midnight, it seemed like. The next best thing was Watergate. That was one of the greatest dramas ever. No script has ever equaled it, to my mind. As Gore says on the show, you would wake up each morning and shake yourself a little and think, I've got to get my Watergate fix before I can go on. You couldn't wait to see the next headline in this marvelous national crime drama. I have met the great indicted co-conspirator himself once at the White House when I was still persona grata at the White House, which a few weeks later seemed like a decade ago, because he had a lot against me. And one of the fun things about the whole thing that came from it is a guy surprised me once. He got in the car, we were driving somewhere to an award show. He said, hey, have you seen this? He flips open a laptop, and there are Nixon and Haldeman in the Oval Office, and it's a still, but the Nixon tapes were coming out then, and the sound, the real voices, of course, from the tapes. Cavett, what can we do to screw him? Cross my heart.
How did that make you feel?
That was about the cleanest thing that ever issued from the Nixon mouth. His language would, as my Navy Uncle Paul used to say, gag a dog off a gut wagon.
Thanks for joining us. You know, I can already feel the excitement building for our next Hollywood Media Professional Celebrity Showcase.